This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're just outside of Aurora, Colorado. I'm here with Sight Training. Since 2010, they have been Denver area's highest rated training in pistols, rifles, and shotguns. I'm here with Chris, who's the owner, certified instructor. Thanks for joining us here on the range, Chris. Let's start off a little bit about yourself. Really, 15 years you've been training folks out here on the range, but you've got about double that amount of experience personally in the shooting area. Obviously, you enjoy instructing folks. You began training pilots, I believe. Share with me a little bit of how you got involved in this type of industry.
Well, shooting is something I've always enjoyed doing since I was a little kid. It's just something I did with my family, my grandparents, my friends. That was just something we always did. So when I decided that I didn't want to be a pilot anymore and get out of training pilots, I thought, you know, what can I do that's going to combine what I like doing, teaching, and shooting, and that brought me here. So I started taking some lessons. I already had a pretty good background, but I took some more lessons, took some more training, got certified to train for the CCW and then the more advanced pistol. And then we started getting into the longer range rifle training. And then I added the shotgun training just because it's something I've always enjoyed doing as well. And I figured if you're going to in for a little bit, you might as well just do it all.
You were able to take two passions that you loved, which is the shooting as well as the instructing. Let me ask you this. We got rifles, pistols, shotguns. These things have been around for centuries. Why do you think it is today this type of training is more appreciated and possibly even more in demand than when you first started shooting 30 years ago?
Well, when I started shooting, it was more of a family thing. It wasn't as commercialized as it is now. It's good and bad. Now the training is a little bit better than it used to be. I certainly, if I would have been my instructor 30 years ago, I would have wasted a lot less ammo by missing. So I try to bring that into it. You know, the price of the equipment has certainly gone up. The price of ammo has certainly gone up, and just the time restraints of a lot of people. They don't have time to just go out and blow ammo like I did to learn. So that's really the biggest thing. And then there's always the advent of the CCW, the concealed carry weapons process. That has certainly changed a lot of the training, whereas it used to be just kind of having one around the house. Now it is, you know, a real viable way to protect yourself.
Let me ask you, one of the things I notice here is that the training we're talking about, why is there different training for different types of firearms? Because I notice you've got pistols and shotguns, rifles. Why the different type of training important?
Well, the pistol is primarily defensive and sporting. You know, the same kind of shooting is used both places. It's a kind of a quicker, reflexive type of shooting. Same with the shotgun. It's actually the same type of shooting where it's just reflexive. You just do it really quick and it's over. Whereas the long-range rifle is all about the science. You know, it's meteorology. There's metallurgy, the chemistry, wave science, all of that kind of goes into one explosion to make sure that the round hits, you know, within inches of where you want it to hit at a quarter mile away or farther.
Interesting. One of the things I see here is the fact that you basically on purpose limit your class size so that basically you can have more of a one-on-one approach. Is this a great way to have a customized experience with the student? Absolutely.
I've got people who've never shot before and are terrified of guns, and by the end of the class they're usually on their way to a gun store to start looking. And then I've got also, you know, military, law enforcement who come and train here for the different types of weapons, and then children. You know, children, once you teach a kid, you know, 10, 11 years old, how to handle a gun correctly and safely, they'll be doing it that way for the rest of their lives, and they will be able to be safe forever.
Wonderful. I mean, the range you got out here really is an open space. It's pretty accessible right off the highway here outside of Aurora. This range here, what does it provide? What type of targets are you able to do here, as well as what type of training?
Well, that's interesting. In the concealed carry and the pistol range, what I mostly use is steel targets on a dirt background. With paper targets, which is more standard, you don't really see where you're hitting. You know, you bring it back afterwards and say, well, I hit here, 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 but I don't know which round went here, 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 and here. Whereas where we shoot, we have a dirt splash, and you can see exactly where every round went. It helps you be much more accurate, train much faster, and usually I can tell if there's a mistake much easier, you know, and not afterwards say, well, this one you pulled it, that one you flinched, that one you weren't looking at the front sight. I can do it instantly.
Interesting. The shooting range is open. Does that make it easy also for shooting while you're moving, and obviously great for long range as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I control everything on the range. We don't usually have a lot of people here. Sometimes there'll be somebody on a different part of the range. But when I'm teaching concealed carry, it's only us on the concealed carry. So we can, shoot on the move, use the holster. I expect people to be able to handle a holster in the level 2 and advanced classes. And that means that the gun will be loaded in the holster the whole class. And then you can only shoot when you're at the firing line, obviously.
Let me ask you this. Let's start off a little bit, break down some of the training here. Let's talk about the basic pistol training. What type of things are folks going to be learning during that class?
Well, in the basic class, it's also the concealed carry class. They're going to learn the laws and the procedures and the decision-making involved with using a gun defensively, whether it's concealed carry or in the house or in the car. We're going to cover all of that. And then we are going to discuss how a gun works. The safety principles are always going to be pretty high on the list, obviously. And then we're going to do a bunch of shooting, different types of shooting, both slow fire for more bullseye type shooting, but that's not very user-friendly for defensive shooting. Then we get into more of the reflexive, quicker shooting, front sight shooting.
Touch a little bit more on sight shooting. You said slow fire. What does that mean, basically?
Slow fire is just, taking the pistol out, aligning the sights as accurately as possible, gentle squeeze on the trigger. It takes a long time to really get that most accurate shot possible. In a defensive situation, it's not usable. So what we concentrate more is just focusing on the front sight. Nice squeeze on the trigger. It's almost as accurate, and it's much, much faster.
Interesting. Let's move on to rifle training. What type of things are folks going to be learning out there with the rifles?
Well, ballistics, we're going to be talking about range estimation and how to do that. And then ballistics, there's going to be a chart that I'll give you for your rifle, your ammo, your scope, and it's going to say, if you're 0 to 100, it's going to drop this much at 200, this much at 300, out to 1,200 yards usually. And that's just through a program I have that'll tell you, and then we're going to just apply that math as we sight in closer than this. As we apply the math, we can just go backwards.
So we're talking some real concerns when we're talking about long range. We're meaning wind speed, if you're shooting uphill or shooting downhill, possibly the altitude, even the temperature. Are these all things that are taken into consideration?
Absolutely. Every one of those will affect how far the round's going to travel and where it's going to hit on the target. So we have to take all that into account.
How does the rifle training versus the shotgun training, and really those two types of firearms, how are they different for folks that wouldn't know?
Well, a rifle, like I said, it's all science. It's using the math, whereas a shotgun is just sheer visceral fun. We shoot a little clay disc into the air, and then we shoot it out of the air, and we use a shotgun shoots a bundle of BBs, and so it's a pattern that comes out. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can shoot a little 5-inch disc out of the air. It's a lot of fun. You can break stuff.
This is a great range because obviously folks, they invest quite a bit of money in their firearms anymore, and obviously when you come out with a rifle, you want a place where you can actually shoot it long enough distance. You're not limited by some of these 100 yards. Is that a big difference, and do folks seem to enjoy that?
Yeah, I mean, these rifles are fairly expensive. The ammo is fairly expensive, and at 100 yards, you're not really learning what the rifle will do, and that means that the shooter is probably going to be the weak link. So out here, not only can you shoot longer distances, but you can see how those distances are going to affect it, and it works for hunting rifles, varmint rifles, the dedicated long range just sporting rifles like the sniper rifles, but we would use them for sporting purposes.
Movable auto traps, what are those basically, and are you able to utilize them out here?
We do have movable auto traps. It's the thing that I use to throw the little clay discs that we shoot with the shotguns, and I have a wireless remote that I can use that, and we can walk around. We can set them out in the field and walk around to make any different presentation that we need. If people have a trouble, with the crossing targets, because you have to build in the lead, then we can put that in. Again, it's just us on this range, so we don't have to wait for other people, and we can take our time and make sure that everybody's comfortable and has a chance to rest when they need to.
So any folks out there that would love to take part and get themselves registered to be a concealed Colorado carrier, you're able to walk them through those steps, is that right?
That's true, yes. It's on my website, on the app, what the requirements are. When you come to this class, I bring the certificates to the class, and you can leave with yours after you completed the class. And then it's just a function of going to the sheriff with that certificate and filling out the paperwork and following their directions to actually get the CCW.
So you've got the age requirement of 21, but out here in the range, what are some of the ages you're able to accommodate?
I have had kids down to 5, and they were in control of their parents or me the whole time. They were never even holding the gun, it was just kind of helping them. Usually at about 10 or 11 is where I find the kids are mature enough to really start to, to grasp the big picture of this and to respect the guns enough. So that's usually just an arbitrary 10 is what I put in. If people want their younger kids, hey, he's really mature, I really trust him, then I'm willing to work with that.
We're talking about habits and really respect for the firearms that these kids will probably have for the rest of their lives.
That's absolutely true.
Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. On the website, first of all, you can take a look at some of the classes they offer. We're talking about pretty much every Saturday they're out here, and you can really sign up individually for yourself. You can bring a family out, an entire team, and they will basically provide a great way to learn about your firearm, as well as a respect of the firearm. And safety, like you said, is number one with you. Let me ask you, a lot of times I see corporate events where people are able to team build. Is this a great way to do that?
This is a great way to do that. With in just one event, you can shoot the long-range rifle, shotgun, pistols, and even an AR-15 type rifle. See why it's the most popular rifle made in Colorado, in the United States these days. And you can do all of that with an instructor right next to you. The ammo, the firearms are all included, and you'll be the only group on the range again, so you won't be rushed through. You can take your time, have a good time.
So this is still a passion of yours, I would imagine. It's got to be fun watching some of the young youth as they go through the different progressions and actually learn more about their firearm. Is that really a rewarding investment for you?
It very much is. I really enjoy working with the kids. They're so enthusiastic, and they're like little sponges. You tell them something, then they just pick it up, and they're so quick to learn. And then they get really enthusiastic and want to come do more. So
that is wonderful. Viewers, last time, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. You're going to see their contact information. All you have to do basically is pick up the phone, give him a call. He'll walk you through the different classes they have. You can actually book it right there online, just a couple clicks away, and set it up. You also want to make sure and see if they've got any certificates, basically specials they got going on. You can check it out there as well. And remember, that's again Fixed Sight Training, Denver area's highest rated training, right here outside of Aurora, Colorado. This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.